These are the moments that, as a football fan, Liverpool fan, but as a football fan, love when the underdog story comes to fruition. I listened to Crystal Palace this game. I listened to the energy from my television. I listened to how they sounded from the start. I saw clips. I saw where persons were just raving. I saw a lot of, smoke. I saw so many things. And hearing the crowd, hearing the spectators, the audience in the game at Wembley that holds over what, 80 something thousand people. I love football, and this is the reason why I love football, because of these moments. These are the moments that you sit back, sit down, and say, where were you when Mbappe scored a hat trick in the World Cup? Where were you when Liverpool won the Premier League for the second time? Where were you when Arsenal went undefeated? Where were you when Man United did the treble in 99? Where were you when Newcastle won the Carabao Cup, winning their first major silverware in 50 years? And where were you when Crystal Palace won their first ever major trophy in 2025? Hi guys, welcome back to JFC's my channel, and let's get into it. These are moments that I love. And in this game, I thought the moments were very small. If we're talking about the quality of the game, I don't think the quality stood out. It wasn't Inter Milan versus Barcelona. It wasn't Arsenal versus a PSG. It wasn't even a Real Madrid versus a Manchester City. But the quality of football doesn't matter when there is a trophy to be won. And in this game, I thought the underdog story came true. David versus Goliath, good versus evil. But it was the story that needed to be told as to how Crystal Palace have been playing for the second half of the season, really. They have been a very good team. I'm going to give a shout out to Crystal Palace and Crystal Palace fans. If you see this, please like, share, subscribe, even leave a comment. And if you really enjoy this content, you can hit the notification bell so that we can get more for your buck. Bang for your buck. But regardless, I'm going to give a shout out to Crystal Palace fans. And listen, there's something when it comes down to smaller clubs, it feels more intimate. It feels so much more a togetherness and well knitted community, and a wholesome community, especially when they reach the pinnacle of winning a trophy, whether it is in the English Championship, whether getting promotion, whether in the FA Cup. These are the moments that I love as a football fan, and I love the trajectory as to where it's going. But the game today, where the moments were just very small. I thought in the first half, Manchester City really did what they've been doing all their life, was just to dominate possession of the game. But in this way, for the first half, particularly in the first 10 minutes, it was okay. It was nice in terms of how they were passing, but the passing was very slow. It was very lethargic. There wasn't much energy into their passing. There wasn't much energy into their play. And even though they were dominating possession for 83-17 in the first half, and maybe getting like a two shots and one on target, I didn't have that moment where I was saying like they're gonna win. I didn't have that moment to say that they're gonna score. But it came where a single moment can define an entire game. And this is what that moment was with Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace gets that opportunity with their first attack on Manchester City goal. Ball is kicked out. Mateta controls the ball, holds off the defender, passes it to Kamada. Kamada plays the ball on the flank to Munoz. Munoz runs on the flank and squares in the ball. And who else but the man of the hour, or the man of the season, or the player of the season for Crystal Palace in Eberiche Eze, who scores. And these are the moments you can listen. I had to turn down my television because it was so loud. No, Crystal Palace are leading. Crystal Palace are leading the big favorites, the overwhelming favorites by a goal to nil. And you would think that after conceding or going a goal behind, that Manchester City would get more energy. No, they need to fight back to get back into the game and try and win the game. Nothing like that happened. Nothing. There was no change in energy. There was no change in how they possessed the ball. There wasn't any change in how they wanted to press and get the ball forward as quickly as possible. No, what happened was that it was the same casual, nice tiki taka, you play here, nice intricate football that we've come to see for Manchester City for the entire season. No, we can say, if Roger was playing, it would be different. Yes, true. But Rodri, even if Rodri was playing, I don't think anything would have changed. This Rodri is the only player that is a starting that was in the starting 11 that didn't play. Everyone else did. So what are you saying then? There's really no excuse. But what the funny part of football that I love is when it gives you a moment that you're going to talk about for a while. And I thought Pep Guardiola, how he talked about it or how he expressed it to Dean Henderson at the end of the game, to me, says a lot. And this is the moment I believe where Manchester City lost the game. The ball is played over the top to Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland is running in. Dean Henderson misjudges the flight of the ball, runs out, and also misjudges his run as to how quickly he came out. And this is where I think that football gives you another opportunity to redeem yourself. And it came about in this moment where Dean Henderson handles the ball outside of his 18-yard box. Now, you can let me know in the comments if you believe that was so and if it was the right decision or not. You can let me know. But I think it was a red card offense. I think it was a red card offense because you handed the ball outside of the box. And what makes matters worse was that I don't think Stuart Atwell was positioned well. You can let me know in the comments if he was. But the fact that VAR again comes into question as to a very wayward and poor decision from the officials themselves. You look at this for like maybe 90 seconds, 91, maybe 2 minutes at best. But there are other games, particularly in the league, where it doesn't affect a title win or affects a league position. But you can't look at this in an FA Cup final. I'm sorry, I'm taking at least 5 minutes out of the game to look at this. And even if you're not taking 5 minutes out of the game, what are you looking at that we aren't looking at? What are you looking at that would let you know or let us know that, hey, this is quite fine? I mean, it's probably a mistake. He's outside of the box. There's no doubt about him not being outside the box. He's outside the box. He handles the ball outside of the box. That's a red card offense. But no, VAR does what they do best, and that is to make life even more miserable. And he gets away with it. Funnily enough, the football gods looked at Manchester City and say, you know what? I am so sorry. Here's another opportunity. And Tyreek Mitchell concedes a penalty on Bernardo Silva. No. Now, if you think that that decision was even game defining, this decision was even more game defining. Erling Haaland holds the ball, kisses the ball, and gives it to Omar Marmoush to hit a penalty or to strike the penalty or try to score a penalty, whichever you want to look at it. This is Erling Haaland, ladies and gentlemen. This is a mercenary in front of goal. This is a demon in front of goal. He's a stone cold killer in front of goal. He is top three, maybe the best, arguably the best striker in the world. And Erling Haaland looks at the goal, looks at the ball, and says, "Nah, I don't want this. Here you go," and gives it to Marmoush. And of course, Marmoush misses. This is not the same City of 22-23. This is not the same Manchester City of last year. This is a completely different city. This is a city devoid of ideas. I think their confidence has been shot for the entire part of the season. And I think this is uncharted waters that Manchester City are facing because Erling Haaland, the best striker in the world, gives the ball to Omar Mamouche to score, and he doesn't. This is Manchester City. So going forward into that game or after that moment, that was really one of not probably the second defining moment of the game. And I think as a football fan, now I'm starting to believe, hey, Crystal Palace actually might do this. Crystal Palace actually might win the FA Cup because based on how Manchester City is playing and based on how Crystal Palace are playing and defending, I don't see where the next goal is coming from or any goal at all that is to be scored from Manchester City. Second half comes along and it's the same thing. It took Manchester City right up to the 80th minute for them to realize, like, hey, we really need to score. We really need to up the energy and the tempo of how we play. And then they begin to play. That's not good enough. And there are serious decisions to be had. There are in terms of squad development, in terms of the squad for Manchester City. Who will be there? We know that Kevin De Bruyne won't be there for next season. But Pep Guardiola, if that's another conversation to be had, will Pep Guardiola still be there next season? You can let me know in the comments. Will Pep Guardiola still be there next season to manage Manchester City? Because this is, I think, his second trophyless season since he's been in England. Did it in 2016-17 and he did it this season. He's just been winning, pretty much. What happens to this squad? What happens to Pep? Because from what I'm seeing, there are so many players that need either talking to or pay cut, something. Something has to be done. I see that they're in the transfer looking for players, midfielders, but in terms of what the squad is like, Phil Foden didn't come on until I think maybe the 70 something minute, maybe 80 something minute. The only player that I saw maybe gave an effort was our players that really try and give an effort was Kevin De Bruyne and Jeremy Doku. Doku again, pop, lock, cut there and everywhere, but no end product. But a serious question needs to be had. You can let me know what you thought of this performance in the comments and what this means for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, because there's a lot to be had, there's a lot to be said, and a lot to figure out if you're Manchester City. So until the next time, guys, like, share, subscribe. See you next time.